My name is Nicholas Northall. You'll also notice that there's a couple of my colleagues in the room. David, who'd be looking after the technology, I think putting it onto YouTube later on. And there's also Manuel here, who's one of the other tutors on the Delta course. So quickly just have another look at your chat. Aitai just said that they work in Azerbaijan. Carol's from Malawi. Okay, great. So I know something about you. Feel free to post in the chat box as we go along. I'll try and answer questions as they come up. So we've already done this first task. Let's move on and let's think about this session. So this is just some kind of housekeeping before we get going. So first of all, if you can keep your mics on mute when not speaking, probably not going to have too many opportunities to speak. It's more of a webinar with me talking, but towards the end, you might have a chance to ask questions. Obviously, through the talk, if you have questions, if you can put them in the chat box, that'd be great. Okay, so use the chat box, as I say, or raise your hands to ask questions. You should be able to see those at the top. You can see the chat box, and I think it's more to get the raise hand icon. Webcams can be on or off. Some of you got them on, some of you got them off, whatever, I don't mind. I must admit, when I'm talking, obviously my webcam's on, but I have to hide my view. I find it quite disconcerting to see myself in the corner of the screen. And then session is being recorded. So if you don't want your face in the recording, please turn your camera off and it'll be available later so you can catch up with that. Brilliant. Okay. So let's get started. So first of all, thanks for writing your questions on the Padlet. I shared the Padlet with you earlier, and hopefully you've managed to write your questions on that. I noticed there's some questions already on the Padlet. I'll just try and share that now if you've not had a chance to do that. Chat. So that's the Padlet. I'll try and answer those questions towards the end of the session. Okay, I will be putting one or two links in the chat box. I might not be able to answer all of the questions now. If not, then I can deal with them perhaps at a later date. Also, if you've not, could you put Kahoot on your phone? You were asked to do this. Again, I'll send you a link to Kahoot. We might have time for this, we might not. The session's planned for an hour. We'll see how we get on. We might not take a full hour. If you do want to look at Kahoot, then it needs to be on a different screen. So if you've got this session on a laptop, it'd be better to have Kahoot on a mobile phone or a different screen. We'll see how we get on. It's just a little bit of fun towards the end to see how much you've remembered. Okay, so let's get started. So Delta Module 1. Okay, you might know something about it, you might not. So I'm going to go over this and talk and give you an overview of what it involves. So essentially, it's two 90-minute papers, written papers with a 30-minute break. You have to write with a pen. You have to do it in an authorized center. You can't do it online. You can't do it at home. Okay, so two 90-minute papers, something like IELTS, where you have to go to an authorized center and take the exam in an authorized center. So what I'd recommend from now, if you're going to do the course with us or with anybody, you need to start practicing writing with your hand. Okay, because if you're not used to doing that, you'll find that you might struggle in the exam, something like a marathon, to be honest. Okay, so there are two papers, as I mentioned. Paper 1 that has 5 tasks and paper 2 which has 3 tasks. Now, somebody's just arrived. The tasks get longer and more complicated as you progress. So, for example, for paper 1, task 1, all you do is write a word. Match a word, write a word to a definition, whereas paper 1, task 2, you write a definition to a word. But then the following tasks get more complicated and you're asked to write more, and you can write as, I'll come to that in a minute, but the tasks get more complicated and they're all compulsory. So you shouldn't leave out any tasks. If you do, you won't get marks for them. Okay. It took The exam focuses on theory and practice behind learning and teaching. So I think the main focus really is on practice. A lot of what's covered in the exam is what we do as language teachers. I'll look at this in more detail later on, but, you know, it is, I think, a very practical exam. You know, it's not asking you to name a theory written by somebody at a certain date or name drop a paper or anything like that. It's thinking about what we do as language teachers on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so location and date. So as mentioned, you can take it almost all over the world in various countries. I'm going to share a link with you. And this is where you can find an authorized centre. So if you're in Sheffield or you're nearby, you can take the exam at the ELTC because we're an authorised centre. If you're not in Sheffield or not even in the UK, you'd have to find one and you'd have to register for that centre. As mentioned, you can't just take it at home. You can't just take it anywhere. You have to take it at an authorised centre, as you know your students would if they were taking the IELTS exam, for example. It takes place on the first Wednesday of December. The next one's the first Wednesday of December this year, and then the first Wednesday in June next year. So it's every June and December and the first Wednesday. So I think the course that we are preparing you for the exam takes place, I think it's the 8th of June, 7th or 8th of June, which is the first Wednesday in June. Okay. So next thing. So overall, there are 200 marks available over the two papers, 100 on both papers. To pass, you have to get approximately 50%, 100 marks, give or take one or two. I think they change it slightly from year to year, depending on how easy or challenging the paper is, but it's approximately 100 marks. To get a merit, you need 130, and to get a distinction, 150. But, you know, it's something like, I suppose, with CELTA, where, you know, you've got your pass B, your pass A. So that's kind of like different. So it's pass with merit, pass with distinction. At this stage, I would just be thinking about passing the exam. Most people who pass it, pass. It's quite hard to get a merit, and it's very hard to get a distinction. Okay. So the exam, the main topics that are covered are backgrounds to learning and teaching. So this is a subtitle of the module, Delta Module 1, background to learning and teaching. And it includes topics such as language acquisition and teaching, approaches and methodologies, language systems and skills, learners' linguistic problems, resources and materials, and assessment. So that's what the exam, the kind of themes that it covers. Now, I would recommend having a look through the handbook that Cambridge provide. Just shared that in the chat box, and that covers the whole of the Delta, so all three modules, Module 1, Module 2, and Module 3. It also gives you, I think there's a mock Module 1 exam in there, which you might want to have a look at to give yourself a flavour of what the exam covers and what's expected of you. Okay. So, any questions so far? Okay. If something does occur to you, please put it in the chat box. So, let's have a look at more detail at the tasks that is covered in the exam. So, can you remember? Oh, somebody's put something in the chat box. Passing scores, yeah, 100, 130, 150, approximately. So 100 to pass, 130 to get a merit, 150 to get a distinction. Okay, so can you remember how many papers are there, how many tasks? Yep, 2 papers, 8 tasks. Yeah. So there's 5. So paper 1 has 5 tasks. Paper 2 has 3 tasks. Each paper is worth 100 marks. So on paper 2, the tasks are a little bit more dense than the ones on paper 1. Well, overall, a little bit more dense because there's only 3 of them. Okie doke. So these are kind of things that you'd expect in the exam. I'm not going to look at each task in detail, but I'm going to give an overview of what's expected and what as you take the course and the exam. So the exam includes ELT related materials. So this could be, so the tasks are taken from exams. They could be published exams like an IELTS test, or it could be a teacher created exam. You know, a teacher's created a diagnostic test for a group of A2 learners. It includes authentic texts, which you might have to analyze. It includes examples of learners' work. So, for example, some writing or a transcription of a learner's oral production, which you have to analyze strengths and weaknesses. It could include published tasks from a course book, etc. So it's all ELT related materials. And I think I mentioned this before, but the tasks tend to get longer in each paper. So the tasks, so for example, I think I said before, but on paper 1, task 1, you just do some labeling where you give the correct term to a definition. Task 2, you write the definition to a term. Then from task 3, you start to write more. Your responses get a little bit longer as the paper continues. Just to remind you again, do get used to handwriting because you will be writing for 3 hours. Okay, so you can write your answers in any form. You could write it as prose, you could write it as bullet points, you could write it as a table. It very much depends on the kind of task that you're doing. So for example, in paper 1, task 5, you tend to do bullet points, whereas paper 1, task 4, you might do this as a table. Okay, so essentially it does depend on the task type. As you take the course with us, we will tell you the best approach for each task and what you need to do. You need to write your answers in pen. You can't use a pencil. And we also recommend that for each task, you start a new page in the answer booklet. Okay, so there's no minimum or maximum number of words, but you need to answer every question on the paper. You can't skip something. If you skip something, then you're not going to get the marks for that task. Okay. Hopefully that's clear. Any questions? And thanks, Lawrence, for sharing the handbook again. You can simply go into Google and type in Cambridge Delta handbook. It's free. Good stuff. Give you a few more seconds if you have any more questions. Good question, Lawrence. You can answer them in any order. Obviously, some candidates prefer to answer them 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Some don't. For example, on paper 1, the final task, task 5 on paper 1, is worth 50 marks. So we often recommend that you do that one first, whereas task 1 on paper 1 is worth, I think, 6 marks. So, you know, often candidates, you know, they start from task 1 and they agonize over it, and then the time runs out. So during the course, we do give you tips on how to approach the papers and kind of like the kind of timings you need for each task. Yeah, there's a past paper, Vasiliki, in that handbook that's been shared with you. So there's an example of a past paper there. On the course, we give you exam practice throughout the course from a week-by-week basis. All the exam practice we give you is taken from past papers. Okay, a lot of the course content, for example, questions, matching tasks, etc., stuff we've designed, but the actual exam practice is taken from official exam papers, and we give you mocks. I mean, I'll go into this in more detail, but we give you mocks during the course that are real exams. It's quite hard to get hold of past papers, to be honest. I would say yes, Taj. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I don't work obviously at every Cambridge Assessment Centre, but if you registered for a Cambridge Assessment Centre and you pay your fee, then they would set it up for you. Because I mean, I would assume it's the same if you're taking IELTS exam. If you're the only candidate, they would still provide the facilities. I would imagine you'd have to ask that test centre. Any more questions? Okay, let's continue. I think I've answered probably the next part of the talk, but we'll see how we get on. Okay, so this is kind of like what the exam covers. We're going to look at, in more detail about the topics covered in the exam, and obviously what we cover at our course at the LTC. So, Delta Module 1 is about understanding language, methodology, and resources for teaching. As I've said, it's about theory and practice. So all the things that the exam covers are things that we do on a day-to-day basis. So, for example, the exam covers language acquisition and language teaching. So you probably think, oh, language acquisition, that's quite in-depth. How would I, how is this relevant to what I do? But, I think it is to a large extent. So, language acquisition, language teaching covers historical and current theories of first and second language acquisition, but how these influence language learning. So, here, we ask you to keep up to date with new trends, as well as being aware of historical theory. So there's quite a lot of reading on the course, as well as the stuff that we provide you. So we do ask that you buy, it's 4 books. We ask that you do quite a lot of reading to make sure that you are up to date about theories, both current and historical. But in the exam, it's not, you don't need to name drops. You're not going to be saying, oh, Harmer said in 2005, blah, 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 or whatever. But we do think that, in the exam, you need to think about how language acquisition affects classroom practice. So, for example, as teachers, we tend to recycle language, don't we? We don't present the present perfect once and then, well, they know it. We've done it once. That's it. Let's move on to something else. So why do we recycle language? So, for example, so understanding the why behind what we do is very much behind, the whole kind of syllabus of the Delta. Okay, so the next thing is approaches and methodologies, which is kind of similar. So really, the exam increases your critical awareness, or the course increases your critical awareness of approaches and methodologies, both current and historical ones, and essentially principles underpinning what we do in the classroom. So again, there's no need to name drop. You don't need to say, oh, so-and-so said this, they wrote this paper in this date, etc., etc. But really, you need to be able to show, why do we do what we do? So for example, in a classroom, why do we give our learners a gist reading task, for example, before a detailed reading task? Is there a reason for that? Why not do it the other way around? Why bother, for example? Okay, also covers systems and skills. So by systems, I mean grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and discourse. And by skills, I mean reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So, for example, in the exam, you might be paper 1, task 3, you might be given a task. So, for example, a task from a course book where the learners have to or buy some tickets at a train station. So as a teacher, what language, what skills do the learners need to be able to do that? So, for example, they need to know how to take turns, they need appropriate vocabulary, they might need aspects of appropriacy, etc. In paper 1, task 5, you have to analyze some language, thinking about, there might be a structure, you have to think about the meaning, the form, and possibly the pronunciation of that structure, as you would do in the classroom. Okay, also looks at another aspect is learner problems. So why do learners make specific problems? What strengths and weaknesses do they have? So, for example, in paper 1, task 4, you're given some writing, or it could be a transcript of a learner's speaking, and you have to analyze it for strengths and weaknesses. So that's what we do as teachers. We do that all the time, I hope. Something else that's covered is resources, materials, and reference sources in a range of EFL contexts. So, for example, paper 2, task 2, you have to think about how tasks fit together. So you're given an extract from a course book. Why is the author chosen to put the tasks in this order? How does this task fit with this task? Why is this task last? So kind of things that we do as teachers, as we, adapt course books or change materials or write our own. Why do we do it this way? And the final part is assessment. So, you look at aspects of assessment, not just published, as I say, it could be something a teacher's written as a diagnostic, and, analyzing the effectiveness of a test for a certain group of learners. So that's paper 1, paper 2, task 1. Okay, so that's the kind of syllabus and the themes that are covered. As you can see, they're all things that we do on a day-to-day basis. It's a written exam, but answering and doing well in the exam is really, focusing on what you do well in the classroom with your learners. So, for example, helping correcting their mistakes, analyzing language, presenting that to learners, etc. Any questions? Hopefully that makes some sense. Yep, Rosita. Yeah, I've been doing Delta for some years, and the IPA is something that a lot of teachers, candidates for the exam worry about. So you need some knowledge of it, but remember, the exam is not a test of phonology. There's aspects of phonology. So, for example, you might be given paper 1, task 4. You might be given an oral transcript of a learner's speech, and you might have to analyze aspects of it for phonological problems or difficulties, and it might include aspects of IPA. So you do need to improve that. That is something you'll need to do, but also aspects of connected speech as well. But that's obviously covered in the course, but it is something I would say that candidates worry about. It's like on CELTA, most CELTA candidates worry about grammar. I think for Delta, it's more like phonology and aspects of pronunciation. Taj, when do we need to register for the exam itself? Okay, I think it's about up to a month in advance. So if you want to take the exam in December, I think you've got to the beginning of November. Not entirely sure, might be not 100% correct, but I think it's 4 or 5 weeks before. Obviously, if you take the course with us, we remind you, we send you links, we support you there. We don't just, leave it up to you. We do tell you need to register. So if you're thinking of taking it on your own, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it with us, then you'd need to register. I think it's 4 or 5 weeks in advance. Any more questions? Doing quite well for timing, so we hopefully should finish before 4, which you might be pleased about. We'll see. Okay, let's continue. So, a summary of what Delta Module 1 is. So, it's a written examination consisting of 2 papers, each one lasting 90 minutes. Usually takes place in the morning, 9:30 to 11 till 1, with a 30-minute break in between. You have to write it at an authorized center, you use a pen. It's not taken online, and you can't take it at home or in a center that's not authorized. So it focuses on the background to teaching and learning in a range of contexts. So really, the more experience you've got, usually the better it is. With taking the Delta, not always the case. So that's why we recommend that you've got at least 2 years of varied experience before you take a course. You don't have to have that, but that's what we recommend. Throughout the exam, especially paper 2, task 3, you can talk about and mention your own experience. So the more experience you've got, you can draw on that as you're doing the exam. It's not just about, you know, as I say, you're not name dropping various authors. It includes a focus on theory and practice. So I always tell my candidates, you know, when I'm working with students on this course, teachers, that, you know, what you do in the classroom can be very good revision for the exam. Just being mindful, you know, as you're marking the student's piece of writing. Oh, so what are the overall strengths and weaknesses of this piece of writing, rather than just going through it, not really focusing, you know, on what they've done. So I think it's a very much a practical exam in some ways. So we do, you know, taking this course with us, it's not just about the exam, but it's also about developing you as a teacher. Okay. Any questions? Carol. Okay, question from Carol. Yeah, we recommend 4 course books that you'd have to buy or borrow or steal. There's 4 course books that we recommend. I'll give you details of those later on. I mean, what I usually do when people have registered for the course, I send them details of of the course books they need to buy, but you'd have to buy them really. You know, we don't provide them. So you could take it on your own and study on your own if you wish to. Facility. Can you talk more about the quiz we need to take prior to being accepted in the course? Okay, so some of you have done it already. If you've applied, if you sent an expression of interest to us, I've then sent you a quiz. Some of you have done it. Essentially, the quiz that we send you is similar to what you would do in the exam. It's not quite the same. It's not an official Cambridge Delta Module 1 exam. It just gives you a flavor, and also for us to think about, is this person right? Is this person ready for it? So we give you 5 questions, I think, and then you have to write a personal statement. So, you know, in terms of what to study, we just take it. So we ask you to, for example, analyze some structures of language. We ask you to, we give you some students' work, what are the strengths and weaknesses of that work. Then we ask you to write a personal statement. So there's no need to study anything. It's really to see, are you ready? You know, do you know enough already? To, you know, we want to make sure that you're not wasting your time. You know, you've not just come off CELTA and you're not ready to take the exam, take the course. Okay, so Delta Module 1. It's also good preparation for Delta Module 2. So I don't know if any of you have taken this. I think 1 or 2 people on this might have taken another module, but Delta Module 2 is essentially the teaching practice module. In this module, you're observed by a tutor and given feedback on teaching on 4 lessons. You also have to write background essays for those lessons, and you also do a reflective assignment as part of that. There's quite a lot of writing involved. It's not like CELTA where you just do a lesson plan. For this, that the lesson plan is really thorough, and you have to do background essays. So we think Delta Module 1 helps you with Module 2. And then Module 3 is an extended assignment in which you write a 4,500 word assignment, something like a mini dissertation for a master's, I think, to some extent, in which you prepare a course for a group of learners, a group of real learners that you've chosen, justifying the course, referring to the literature, etc. So there are 3 modules. You can take them in any order. You can take them all at the same time. It's up to you. We recommend, though, 1, 2, and 3. So our Module 1 course begins November, I think it's the 17th, in a few weeks' time. Our Module 2 course has just started. We run that with Niall, you might have heard of. It's a training, like a teacher training school based in Norwich. That's just started. So if you're interested in that, you can have a look at our information, which I'll share in a minute. And we've also got a Delta Module 3 course, which starts, I think, towards the end of November. So I'll just share this. There's just a question there. Give me a minute. So these are the courses that we run. So Delta Module 1 starts in a few weeks. Delta Module 2 started this year, and Delta Module 3 starts in November. Rosita's saying, is there a time limit? Not as far as I know. I don't think there's a time limit at all. Some people have taken years to pass Delta. I mean, some people take it quite intensively. It really depends on you. You know, what's your teaching context? How busy are you? How good are you at organizing your time? You might have probably got other stuff going on in your personal life. You know, there's a lot to get through in Delta. It's a big step up from CELTA if you've done CELTA. Okay. Let's move on. So what can you do with Delta? Why do Delta? You know, why have you decided to do it? So a number of reasons. First of all, I think it gives you access to more senior roles. So you might be thinking, well, I want to, you know, go into ELT management, or I want to be an ADOS, I want to be a teacher trainer, I want to become an examiner, or I want to work in a university. I want to teach English for academic purposes at a university. From these roles, you tend to need Delta. So, but having Delta opens up more opportunities for you, better paid jobs. Also, it facilitates progress to other qualifications. So, for example, if you're thinking of doing an MA in TESOL, some providers give you points towards that. So, for example, I did my MA TESOL at Sheffield Hallam, and I got 60 credits from doing my diploma towards my master's, which was pretty good, actually. So if you're thinking about doing a master's, you could do a Delta first. You don't need to, you know, but it can help. And also, I think you're then seen as a professional. You know, doing Delta, you're seen by a school, by your students, by other stakeholders as being a professional, not, you know, some kind of fly-by-night TEFL backpacker. It's something that you've chosen as your career, and you're, you know, and you want to progress in. So I think it does give that carries that professionalism, I think. Any more questions at this stage? Okay. I don't think there's any come up. No. Okay, so this is a bit why I try and flog our course. So why study Delta Module 1 at the ELTC? So why? You might be thinking, well, I can do it somewhere else, you know, or I can study on my own, etc. Well, there's a number of reasons. I'm going to stop this share, and I'm going to show you our course. So we use something called the Training Foundry, and you can see it in front of you. So if you register with us, you get access to this course. We run Sheffield University, and unfortunately this has not been updated from the last course, but you can see this is the landing page that you come to. You get information here about the course, about the forums. You can see the forums here, useful information about the course. Then here at the content part, you can see the different contents, the different units, the course. So for example, if I go to, I don't know, testing and assessment, so I want to do this unit. And it tells you, you can see on your left-hand side, you've got the content of the unit here, what it includes. And here you've got what's happening in the course, the unit, how long it'll take to study. So we think it's 4 hours. There's a welcome video there. There's the aims of this unit. There's an exam practice. So this unit's going to cover that paper. Each unit covers a paper or papers, task or tasks. Each unit is very much focused towards the exam, but not just the exam. And you can see the content here. So it includes reading, terminology, etc. So for example, if I went to terminology, again, it tells you what's happening here, approximate time to complete, everyone's different. And then there's a task. So for example, this is a drag and drop task, drop the words in like this. If I get it, I'm just doing it randomly. I do know. And then you can check your answers at the bottom, for example. Oh, I got one right without even thinking about it. It's quite good. You get the solution as well. There's some practice there, questions that you can ask yourself. There's a task here, selecting correct terms. So you've got a statement there, you decide what it is. And then there's a link there, how this links towards Delta. So each task is linked towards the Delta syllabus for all 3 modules. Then you go to the next topic. More information, different tasks, etc. And as I say, each unit has an exam link. So we've got exam practice here, taken from an official paper, and the task below that you complete, and then sample answers for you to check your answers with. Okay. Any questions? Please feel free to ask. Okay, I'll share slides again. So that's one reason. Our materials are really good. Our course is really good. You know, a lot of positive feedback about that. So that's one reason. It's a 26-week course. It starts on the 17th of October and finishes on the 26th of May, approximately a week before the exam in June. For the first 20 weeks or so, we look at different content, for example, testing, reading, speaking, etc. The last 6 weeks or so, we focus on revision and what you need to do to pass the exam. But throughout the course, we do look at the exam. Okay, it's delivered completely online. Oops. So the content I've shown you is the asynchronous content. So each week we release a unit. For example, week 1's reading. You work through the tasks, and most of the units, actually, I think all of them have got a forum task in which you're expected to respond. You can complete the tasks whenever you want, but we ask that you do it within that week. So unit 1 would be delivered on the Monday, or what is it, in October, and then on the following week we open up unit 2, so it's a week-by-week basis, and we recommend obviously you keep up to date on a week-by-week basis rather than leaving it all towards the end. We also have asynchronous content in which we have online classes about every 2 weeks, in which we look at a specific task from the 2 papers. Now, these are recorded, so if you can't attend, because I know not everyone's in the UK and there's sometimes issues with time zones, that's fine. Obviously, we do ask that you try to attend. We've not confirmed the dates and the time yet, likely to be on a Thursday. Manuel and I need to chat, and we also need to ask you really what times work for you. We also offer tutorials as well. There are 2 tutorials where you speak to me or Manuel, and we give you like a progress update. This is usually after you've taken one of the mock papers. And we also do a written report, usually early May, to prepare you for the exam. Okay, so the main focus of the course is exam. It's the exam, but we also, want to develop you as teachers. Doing this course, we hope towards the end, you've developed as a learner and as a teacher. You're not just doing the exam, but your students are going to benefit from what you get from the course. Okay, so I mentioned this before, there's personal tutorials. You have 2 during the course, and you get feedback as well on your performance in a couple of mock exams. It's just chat message. Okay, Carol, if you can write to the TEFL inbox, my colleague Cathay will be able to deal with that. Okay, we also recommend that you work together with other people on the course. So, for example, the forum tasks, if someone publishes a forum post, we recommend that you respond to that, share your ideas as well. To working together, sharing best practice, because people are working in different contexts. The live sessions usually happens is we have exam practice, and then following the exam practice, you work together in a small group and discuss your answers. How did you get them? Something similar to what you do in an exam class with learners. After they've done a task, they might discuss their answers together and then compare them with the answers, and then think about why they came to this conclusion and not this one. Okay, so essentially we say you study in your own time. So, the content that I've shown you, the asynchronous stuff you can work through in your own time. So, you know, whatever works for you at the weekend, in the evening, etc. And the only time that you would be asked to attend is during the synchronous live classes. As mentioned, though, these are recorded if you can't attend each one. Another chat? Okay. Yeah, thanks, Manuel. Okay. So any more questions?
I had a question that I put on the Padlet. Let me find it.
We'll come to the Padlet in a minute, Rosita.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
we'll come to that in a minute. I'm aware of time, so I'll go. Might not have time for the Kahoot actually, but we'll see how we get on. So if you have downloaded it, great, because we will use it in the live session, so it's not a complete waste of time. See how we get on. Okay. Okay, just to let you know, we had 100% pass rate at the LTC in all 3 modules this last academic year. Okay, just so you know that. I thought I'd let you know. I think that's quite impressed with that. But as they say, when you buy financial products, etc., past performance is no guarantee of future results. You know, just because you register with us doesn't mean you will pass the exam. You do have to work quite hard. You know, it is quite difficult. I think the papers get harder, actually, the modules 1, 2, and 3. But saying that module 1, it's not easy. Okay, that's all I'll say. Thanks. Yeah, quite pleased with that. Okay, so I think I will do this actually. Yeah, I think I'll do the Kahoot because we've got 20 minutes and it'd be quite amusing. So if you've downloaded that onto your phone, that would be great. So if you download it, please open that up. And then I'm going to share this with you. So what you need to do is put that game pin in, or you can scan that code, that QR code at the top right. So the game pin is 2644558. I don't know if you can hear that music, but it's really annoying. So please put that number in quickly. Oh, Lawrence is on, Peter's on. You 30 more seconds. Taj, good. Manuel and David, hope you're playing as well. Only got 3 players. There's more than 3 people here. Going to give you, 10 more seconds. Get that number in. If not, you're not going to be able to play. Manuel's on. Yeah, great. Now, why am I? Oh, did not download the application. Just go to Kahoot. Thanks. Should work. Erica's on. Right. Okay, can you see this? So you actually, I need to do this. Oh, I've made a mistake here. That's not great, is it? Share screen. Okay, so how long does the exam last? Put one of the numbers in. Okay, so one person got red, one person got yellow, probably the rest of you confused. So is it 90 minutes? 3 hours 20? Why? See, this is not working for me. Sorry about this. I'm not used to using it here. See, all this, it's not working with me properly. Okay, so let's see. Peter, nobody got, did anyone get it right? Nobody got it right. You must have, so how long does the exam last? Can you remember? Should be 3 hours. Let's go to the next one. Task 2. So how many tasks are there?
8.
Press the button. The color. Okay, so 4 people said 8. One person said 1. Yep, it's 8. There are 8 tasks altogether. 5 on paper 1, 3 on paper 2. So, oh, that's up. So Taj is at the top in the lead place. Let's go to the next question. What's the main focus? Yep, it's theory and practice. So it's not just practice, it's not just theory, it's not teaching, it's theory and practice. Excellent. Oh, so Lawrence has gone to top place. Excellent. Manuel, I'm disappointed. Next question. Yep, at any authorized center. So not only at the LTC or not wherever you like or not online, only at any authorized center. I've sent you a link to find one if you're not in the UK or not near Sheffield. Oh, Peter stormed ahead. Excellent. Next question. Yep, it's 100 to pass, 130 to get a merit, and 150 to get a distinction. And it's out of 200. Brilliant. Excellent. Peter's storming ahead here. Next question. Yep, ELT related sources. So, excellent, Peter, really good. Next question. Excellent. Yep, we've covered this. It's understanding language, methodology, and resources for teaching. They're the topics. Okay, Peter's still ahead. Lawrence is catching up, though, I think. Question 8. Tricky, this question. Yeah, we recommend 1, 2, 3, but you can take it in any order or you can take them all at the same time. Oh, Lawrence has pipped Peter. Excellent. It's quite tight at the top. Manuel, very disappointed. I almost get the feeling you're doing it on purpose. Question 9. Yep, online, synchronously and asynchronously. We've spoken about that in some detail. Whoa, very close. Okay, final question. Yeah, excellent. To pass the exam and develop as a teacher. Brilliant. So let's see who the winner is. Third place, Peter. Excellent. Second, Aj. Excellent. Number one. Excellent. So Lawrence, your prize for winning is to do the mock exam over the weekend. Okay, brilliant. Okay, we'll come back to that. So hopefully you found that a bit of fun. Let's come back to what we were talking about. So essentially, let's think about Q&A, what you've got. So let's go to so hopefully you've got, there's some questions I think in the chat box. Great. Oh, someone was putting the answers in there. Sorry, I couldn't see that. Never mind. Okie doke. So let's have a look at those questions that some of you that some of you have written. Where are we? So I ask you to put some questions on the Padlet. Let's come to this. So these are the questions. So hopefully you should be able to see them. So I'll go through some of these questions. So where do the Module 2 observed lessons take place in your local context? So if you're based in Sheffield or somewhere nearby, a tutor from the LTC would be able to act as your local tutor. But if you're somewhere else in the world, you would have to organise a local tutor. So for example, with Nile, we work in partnership with, you could contact them and they would help you to organise a local tutor, someone who lives nearby in your context. Now for Module 2, it's all in person. You're not able to do it online. I mean, the teaching practice, the course can take place online. Okay, live sessions. Live sessions focus on different aspects of the exam. So, for example, first live sessions getting to know you. Second one, paper 1, task 1. Paper 2, task 2. Paper 1, task 3, etc., etc. Yeah, we give you access to university library materials when you start the course. I think you can register as a student with us. Okay, can we do the one-to-one face-to-face in person? If you're in Sheffield, yeah. So the tutorials, if you're in Sheffield, yeah, of course you can. So I think I probably know who's asked that question, but yeah. What study materials will you provide? Well, we provide the course. We give you access to a library, but we do ask that you buy 4 books. So for example, Harmer, that practice of language teaching. What else is there? Lightbound and Spader, how languages are learned, but I can tell you that if you register for the course. Obviously, you could borrow them, you can get them secondhand, but we do recommend that you buy them because there's quite a lot of reading to do. I don't have a centre in my city. What do I do? You'd have to travel to another centre, take the exam. So if there's no centre in your city, you would have to travel. There's nothing we can do about that. That's a Cambridge regulation. Okay, there's a Cambridge Assessment Centre, but they do not do Delta. Yeah, you'd have to travel to another city to do the test. You can't arrange it yourself. It has to be an authorised centre. You can't go to your local school and ask, unless they became an authorised centre, but it has to be an authorised centre. Same as taking IELTS. You can't just take IELTS anywhere. It has to be an authorised centre. Course schedule is there's 1 unit per week. So, for example, week 1's reading, week 2, I think, is vocabulary, off the top of my head, different topics each week. We recommend, it's quite a lot, but we recommend 10 to 12 hours of study a week. It is there's a lot to get through. And then the online sessions are once every 2 weeks. They're not compulsory. Obviously, you can benefit from those, but then there's the live sessions as well. On the last course, a couple of people weren't able to attend, but they watched the recordings and caught up. What day is the online session? We're hoping Thursday. We will ask you what works for you, but we can't satisfy everybody. And we can't just do a live session for one person. It's just, we can't do that. One-to-one tutorial, there's 2 during the course, and then there's a report. So there's 3 altogether. Obviously, if you have other questions, you can email us. And then the university library, we give you access to that once you've started the course. Okay. hopefully that's everything there. Any more questions, do let us know. Yeah, there's a certificate after each module that's provided by Cambridge. So yeah, there's a certificate there. Okay, so any more questions, please let us know, by email. So I'm just going to finish this off. So these are the next steps. I am aware of the time. So we've got a few minutes now. So next step is to complete the expression of interest form. Some of you have done that already. If you've not done that, complete that expression of interest form, and we can see if you're suitable to take the course. Once you've done that, we send you a quiz. Somebody, I think Vasiliki, asked about that. It's kind of simple quiz, but it just gives us an indication that you've got some idea about learning and teaching. If, from your quiz answers, if we're happy with that, we then offer you a place to take place on the course. So we can't offer you a place if you don't do that quiz, because we want to make sure that you're not wasting your money, that you're ready to take this course. And then we open the course, we give you access to the course for you to start studying. As I say, the course starts in a few weeks' time. Okay, there's the next steps. So there's more information here. I've shared the first link with you. I'll share that second link as well from Cambridge. So that's Cambridge, more information about the Delta. And then obviously you've probably got that email address already. I know Manuel's put it in the chat box. If you have any questions about the course, including payment, whatever, do let us know. Obviously, with the course starting in a few weeks, if you are interested in studying with us, we do ask that you make payments, at least the initial deposit, as soon as possible. I think that's everything from me. That's more or less an hour. So any more questions? Do feel free to turn your microphone on. Thanks, Taj. Yeah, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, Peter.
So if I live in Manchester, but if I wanted to come and take books out of Sheffield University Library, would that be possible?
Yeah, a lot of our stuff's online anyway. That you can access a lot of the stuff online.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Articles.
And if I wanted to come and meet the tutor to do the tutorials face to face, would that be possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, yeah, Manuel's nodding his head. Yeah, if you wanted to meet us, come to Sheffield for a coffee and have a chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Brilliant, everyone. Great.
Sorry. This is Carol. I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm just having a horrible time to make for my payments and for my bank to process everything. And I'm really not sure if I'm going to be able to meet the deadline for the first payment. I'm not sure if you are going to be able to answer this, but who else offers this course? Maybe.
You'd have to look online. There's a lot of centres that do the course. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you about other, because a lot of providers, if I mention provider, I say they're a good provider. So about your payments, Carol, please do send us an email. It's kind of beyond what my role is in payments. But if you take it somewhere else, please do a Google search. I can't recommend a centre.
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you. I understand you totally. It's just like an off-the-cuff question.
Okay, everybody. If there are any further questions, do send us an email, because I'm sure you might think of things. In the meanwhile, thanks for attending. I hope you got something from this, and have a nice afternoon. Here in Sheffield, it's quite nice now, actually. The sun's come out. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. It was very informative.